visual style that we all by now recognize. I'm of course speaking of lines, nodes, and hexahedrons. That's a hexahedron. Whether these are well executed or not, and many are not, relying on the shallow aesthetics of generic-like icons found through a search, they miss a key point. These elements do not provide enough grounds for recognition within the saturated market. It makes companies look the same. Branding is more and more critical because more and more companies are jumping in by the day. These images come from different searches, yet they could belong to the same organization because of their use of form and their use of color. A brand is not only a logo, type, and color. It's much more. It's an identity rooted within a historical and cultural context reference, and it gains power when it is put alongside others of the same kind. Like the famous phrase, "Go alone and go quickly, go together and go far." It helps people understand what your true meaning and purpose is within the larger framework. Notice how many books are in these marks. Clear reference to education. Yet each one is different in its own way, enough so that it becomes difficult to confuse them, which is exactly what we want from a good brand. Going a step further, brands are something to hold on to, an identity, a community, a place to project your wildest hopes, dreams, and ambitions. Brands become what you put into them, and in time, your mark becomes a symbol for all that which you have done and stand for. All the effort, it all comes into your brand. Like this: speed, athletic excellence, perseverance, knowledge, design, innovation, quality. Now I understand that design is an investment that can get expensive. Like many things of quality, what you pay reflects heavily on what you get. Too often for this reason, young companies miss out on critical exposure that can define an industry. These are examples of companies who defined and promoted their brands early on. They all became titans of industry. In two cases, actually replacing the name for the product in the vernacular. William Procter and James Gamble formed a partnership to make and sell soap in 1837. They were one of the first branded advertisers, taking out ads in newspapers, the medium of the day. Today, we are all familiar how far Procter & Gamble reaches. Returning briefly to the medieval shields, we see there were some very different visual representations through the territories of Britain. Some had 3 axes, others a big cross, others a series of pattern, a lion, and so on. These must have seemed very different to each other to the people of the time, but they were in fact unified by their format, the shield shape, and medium, being hand-painted. Flags are another age-old example of differences in identity within a consistent visual framework. This is true throughout history and geography. Speaking of copying and pasting. These identities are taken on by their users, their citizens, to represent many things. National pride is probably paramount, but it goes deeper to define a major part of how many of us think of ourselves. And for some, it commands a loyalty that is difficult to measure or replicate. If crypto and blockchain want to be embraced by the world at large, the companies need to start defining themselves with more than just templates and easy, accessible, generic content. They need to personalize the common language. B uses hexahedron to represent the beehive, a strong analogy for a home sharing solution. The crypto bees buzz about and draw the eye where it needs to go. And many token-shaped coins, much like honey, are created. Another strong analogy to the technology and business environment they're in. As you can see here, there are lots of lines as well. We need to redefine what it means to use the digital space by creating dynamic websites and apps that revolutionize the space itself. They need to use animations and forward-thinking styles in line with the greater environment. Here, Wi-Fi Coin alludes to the invisible waves of communication that make Wi-Fi possible. Currently, Wi-Fi is a mess, full of inefficiencies and redundancies. But Wi-Fi Coin brings it into harmony and makes it visually apparent through their representational use of sacred geometry, made up of lines, nodes, and hexahedrons. Said more explicitly, the elements need to be thought through and used with references that give them added significance and value. Here, nodes and lines lead to a giant hexahedron, Cointopia, a reference to ancient Rome, a place where all roads led, and very much in line with the company's mission to create a marketplace. No one will mistake this particular use of these elements for anyone but Cointopia, I can assure you that. And so in this way, the elements have been used successfully because they are unique while at the same time recognizable through their commonalities. Apple created a revolution not by making devices that read CD-ROMs and played music. They created devices that changed the way we interacted with our homework, our music, and softened our sense of what a computer could be. They blurred the edges and then redefined the category. This is what we can do today in blockchain and crypto. But for the larger world to understand that, the companies need to start delivering brands that draw attention and drive user loyalty beyond the confines of our community. Apple did this by adding color to what had been gray boxes, giving them life through personality and design. Now, there are times when following the herd and being a sheep may actually be a good choice. For example, Bitcoin has designed their website to resemble other established institutions and brands, for example, Bank of America. They had to do this to encourage validation and trust, which is, for their brand positioning, is a good idea, because the mainstream does not believe in Bitcoin. They think it's a pyramid scheme, and it's just a big bubble. So they essentially have taken the strategy of, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck,